All right. We are locked in, you're locked on, we are live, and this is Misaligned yet again, coming back with another conversation, carrying on from the previous one that we had. So in the previous conversation, the previous episode, we examined what Nigerians are voting for, what the elections could mean for the country, and whether those of us abroad should actually seriously consider returning home. Well, electing the president is just the first thing, right? There's a whole number of sequence of things that are quite important, or things that matter whenever we're talking about change in any institution, in any country, in any groupings of individuals. So even if Nigerians chose the right leader, can that leader govern through institutions that I believe, and this is opening this up to the first set of questions, that I believe are weak, they're politicized, and they're generally incapable of delivery. That is my assessment of a lot of the institutions that underpin how Nigeria operates. Things like, for example, can INEC actually protect the vote? For those who are unfamiliar with INEC, that's the body that basically handles elections within Nigeria. Can the courts restrain power actually, or is that a challenge? Can the police enforce the laws fairly? Can the civil service, which I again think, based on my experience with the civil service, is a bit just there's one chance. Can it turn political promises into actually functioning public services that are used by the average Nigerian? So tonight we're moving beyond the ballot box that we talked about previously, and we're asking the real questions here. And I think we're having a bit of an interesting back and forth around whether Nigeria can build the institutions strong enough to make progress survive no matter who happens to be in power. Um, for the first time, we're doing something slightly different. So I've put in a call in. If you're interested, if you're watching and you want to call in, there's a link. I'll put the link up as well so you can have a look. And then we'll just put a bit of session where you can have a bit of a back and forth, ask one or two questions, etc. If you're interested, just wanted to try that because that's something that someone asked for. And then I'm wearing my trusty glasses, a bit of a hangover from my conjunctivitis days. I quite like them because you can't see my eyes. So I'm going to put up a bit of a poll as well. Let me know. Do you want me to stop wearing them because they look absolutely corny? Or do you think they're a good look for me, wearing them at night in a darkened room? Um, but that's a slightly different conversation. We'll have a look at that one and see. I'll just drop the poll in chat if you're interested in looking at that. Without further ado, though, I mean, you all know everybody on here. We all know who we are. I think maybe we could just jump straight into the first set of questions, if you guys are all right with that. And I'll use the question to sort of kick off the conversation. The first question I was thinking was, so let's imagine Nigeria elects an honest, competent, and exceptionally capable president today. Just boom, bam, they just dropped somebody in there that's actually competent and capable of doing everything. Which part of the Nigerian system would prevent that person from actually delivering and why? Jab, initial thoughts?
So, thank you for the question. Your question is, can a leader deliver? I think that is different from saying, can Nigerians deliver? So,
Yep.
if we take the leader, I think maybe we need to move away from the idea that one individual can fix the problems of Nigeria. And in a sense, this is the quagmire that we're currently trapped in Nigeria. So some people are absolutely 100% sure if we can just get Peter Obi in the current dispensation to get in there, our problems will be, solved, or maybe we'll make a good start. So some people are convinced by that argument. But in my view, I think you need to look at systems as opposed to an individual, because the individual does not operate outside of the the system, and
Mm,
you need to build the system from the bottom up, if I can put it that way. It's kind
mhm,
of what the Chinese have done, and they have one party in power and has been for the last 70 years. But the system that they've got is one where, true, they have got some market economy, but ultimately that is subjected to the control of the state, or the people. They prioritize people's welfare above the profits of a few individuals. So I think my own analysis, I like to look at these things in terms of class society. And once again, building on conversations that we had in the previous episode, the state is not a neutral organ. It is an
Mhm.
organ of control and it's an organ of repression. And when we talk about democracy, we always have to ask which party or which class is being which class interest is being served by democracy. So in the
Mm.
liberal bourgeois democracy that we have, which is also what Nigeria is copying,
Mhm.
class that is the class whose interest is served is the ruling class. The majority of the people don't really have a say. So if we're going to go to war, as we've done in this country so many times, nobody sits down and says, right, let's do a referendum. Shall we attack Iran? Nobody asks that question. We just do it, right?
Mm. Yep.
If we say, let us talk about tax redistribution or distribution, you don't get a vote on that, right? And so
Mhm.
you have tax havens. People just stash this money in there. They're not useful to anybody. They don't help anybody, but we don't get a vote on that. But you're allowed to vote for parties and certain subjects that are allowed within a parameter, right? You can't go outside that parameter. So you can vote as much as you want. You can have as much debate as you want. The core, the core issues that would affect material welfare, you don't get a vote on that. So to bring it
How
back
do
to
you mean?
Nigeria,
How do you mean? So there's some aspects that you've raised, but 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 when you say the core aspects, are you talking about things like around welfare systems, health? Are you talking about security and stuff like? Or what do you mean when you say the core systems people don't have a vote on?
okay, so if you look at, let's say, the system of extraction that we have, right, where
Hmm.
the majority are impoverished, okay, so they haven't got, take Nigeria for instance, yeah, no roads, no water, poor electricity, corruption is rife. You don't really get a vote on that, yeah,
Mm.
but you can decide which member of the ruling class gets to lord it over you, whether that person is from the west or from the north, or whether he's one party to the other party. And in fact, in Nigeria, actually, they just jump from one party to the other. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
they give you the semblance of choice, a crazy illusion that you've got a choice. So you can go and vote, tick a box, and then when they're describing countries that are democratic, you get to have a tick. But
Yeah.
in material terms, your votes, you cannot vote on the things that matter.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Obi, what are your initial thoughts around that first question? If we're looking at the after the election, can can the winner actually do anything? Can they make a difference? You're on mute, I think.
Shoot. Can you hear me okay? Is my network
There we go.
lagging? Am I
Yeah,
good?
you're all
Yeah,
good.
right. First, Jabs, if there's something you said, I wanted to say, if you want to, there's no need to, in the famous words of Nkemowo, there's no need to take corners. If you want to talk to me directly. I believe P2B is the person that can change Nigeria. It's me. Forget that my name is Zubi, but I believe when you say some people, it's me. I'm part of the some people because I say that Obi is the only thing that is closest to a Messiah that we have now that we can
Peter
see.
Obi.
If you yes, Peter Obi Pio, if you're talking about track history, because I'm from Anambra State and he was the governor who changed my state before uh, his successor took over down to Soludo that we have now. But back to your question, can a Nigerian leader govern through a weak, politicized, and generally incapable of something incapable of delivery?
Yeah.
Um, and you mentioned a few bits in there. You talked about you mentioned INEC, judiciary. policing. Or when you say policing, I'm taking you mean like armed police, not policing, but policing local government. So I just want to take these ones you mentioned piece by piece. My answer is yes and no. Yes, Nigeria can actually. Well, I don't believe it's possible in my lifetime, but yes, Nigeria can, and that will only happen if we all collectively come together and decide as a people, because there's no way that that we, given to the fact that we are
Oh, you've cut out. Oh, you've cut out.
no
While he's
why.
loading. Oh, there we go.
Sorry,
You're back.
I
You're
do
back.
apologize for that. Some I need to fix one or two things.
That's
So
all right.
what let me just try and keep this brief because of the internet. So basically, yes, Nigeria can, because nothing is impossible. But at the end of the day, at the same time, I would say, given with the structure we have now, because like I said, if you want to look at Nigeria's problem, we need to look at it from the root cause. You cannot just be looking at it from the middle, because if you patch it, it's still going to come. But that's a whole can of worms if you open. And the reason I say no is because given to the current structure we have now, and I believe we are not talking about a total overhaul. When I mean total overhaul is, say, maybe someone, a military head of state enters and the constitution, dissolve cabinet, dissolve senate, dissolve everything. Is, you understand what I mean? The whole governing body and policies and constitution that we know as of today will be dissolved. That we are not looking at that aspect, because that may not happen again in our lifetime. Our military is already compromised, so I don't see that happening. But if we're talking about with this current structure that we have now, you mentioned the INEC. Is it not the same INEC that we're talking of that is trying to hinder Peter Obi from NDC now? Something I saw on the news about his party not being, basically, because I didn't really follow that news, but I heard he was having some issues with INEC. The same INEC we're talking about. Are we talking about the judiciary? Is it the judges, the Supreme Court judges that they bought 20 mansions for the other day? For the other day, are those the judiciary that we're going to use in looking at this thing? Are we talking about policing? Okay, are we looking at police that kill on that kill on a daily basis, corrupt? You know how corrupt Nigerian police system is. I mean, I
Just
don't need to tell
checkpoints,
anyone.
even just checkpoints. How
I
about
mean,
anything for
come
your
on, you
voice?
understand? Are we talking about the local government? My local government chairman the other day was arrested in America for something. I mean, are we talking about the people in charge of the local government, the civil service, where you have ghost workers, people that just don't turn up to work and they collect, anti-corruption agency, EFCC, that the president uses as his personal what do I call it, weapon against his enemies. I mean, you know how when Obasanjo created EFCC, how EFCC. So there is no structure right now in Nigeria that we can say that a leader, even Peter Obi, that I'm clamoring for and cheering and hoping that he goes into power. If I'm being honest with you, even the other day he was saying something on TV. I was watching one of his interviews, and he was talking about how he feels that there's a threat on his life, that if this current administration can take him out, they will have done it. He was literally saying that. Say something about him parking at the airport, how he's being frustrated on a daily. So even Peter Obi, I don't even think he's got that capacity or that ability to tackle this government on its own. That's why I don't see any chance come 2027 when we're talking about. Remember, one of the main topics we spoke about was something about voting. What are Nigerians voting for? The question again is, are Nigerians really voting? How do we see this system? So yes, a Nigerian leader can govern, but I believe it would be extremely difficult. If you're looking at the policy implementations, or even well designed policies may even fail. When you will fail if we have ministries and agencies that lack capacity and coordination to carry out those policies. There'll be political interference. If you think about the godfatherism that is common in Nigeria, that is something that is going to, if you look at the current status where there are party, how do I call it? Is it party prostitute or party harlot? Excuse my French. I don't know if that language is allowed on this platform. Please tell me if
It's
that
fine.
language.
Go for
But
it.
where you have political harlots who move from one party to the other, and you have a whole current president who is campaigning on his previous campaign promises, trying to consolidate power, and then you have the president's wife who is coming out to tell the people to fry akara and kuli kuli, and then she's telling you that I donated this, I donated that, I donated. It's not like it's her father's money. You understand? So those are still hurdles that we have to think about. Slow service delivery. Institution is weak. How is it going to how are they going to enforce regulations? You talk about corruption. You talk about how would that do, because this thing called corruption in Nigeria, it has eaten deep. It has so many tentacles. Even a newborn baby in Nigeria, give them 24 hours, make it begin breathe Nigeria air, it goes in the blood. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's deeper than we.
I get you.
It's different than we're talking about corruption and rent seeking. Resources would always be diverted away. I mean, P2B is just one man. Even the people around him, we can't really vouch for anyone. I'm speaking out of this as someone who has had the opportunity or privilege to witness how institutions are being run in foreign Western developed country that people want to jack back to. If we want to visit that matter. So there'll be resistance to reform as well. We've not talked about resistance to reform, resistance to change. There are people who want to keep Nigeria in darkness strictly because they are heavy importers of generators. Nigeria supplies Togo and Ghana and its neighboring countries electricity. But since I was born in Nigeria, Akato, I've never had a time that, let's not even talk about the power before they say I'm demarketing Nigeria if there's anything to market. The other day I heard that the stock exchange was trading at the third in the world. I looked at the guy and I said to him, how is that affecting the akara and the kuli sellers that we have in the country? How is that affecting the common man? Is there light? Is there road? Is there water? Is there security? You are telling me this we're trading higher than South Korea. I'm like, these are not the things that we need to be worrying ourselves about. So it's a very complex situation because
how is Peter Obi going to change this? Because you said he will fix the problem.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to. These are the things I'm telling you, that these will be the obstacles that he's facing, because that's why I said yes and no. Yes, he's the lesser of the two devils. Yes, he's got a good track history. He has said it before. If you have anything, my man, do you not think that if this government had any criminal conviction that they could have used to convict P2B, that he would be walking free? Do you think that if his 8 years as a governor, that if there was anything they could have held him with during this period, that he would have been gone by now? Do you not think so? No, that's nothing. So I believe he's the one that's the lesser of the two evils, because at the end of the day, I won't say I know him.
Yeah, but there's similarity to American politics, isn't that here, with Trump talking about coming to drain the swamp and do everything that the other people couldn't do, and indictments against him, and people try to assassinate him, and all of those things. What has he done in terms of
hold on.
Okay.
Sorry, please. I'm sorry. Let me just round up before I lose my sense of thought. Now, the thing there is, like I said, historically, P2B has shown that he's capable. If we look at his track record with Anambra State, I don't want to start going into that. It's the internet for people who want to doubt that. But the way he can do it, there are strategies he can do. For example, if you talk about he can start from building a small competent team in key ministries and agencies that will be around him. But again, there will be obstacles for him to hurdle. And if you look at what we've currently got now with the whole northern hemisphere and how they're doing their elections there, and how they said that they're the ones dragging Nigerian back, and if you look at southeast, The other day, I saw they were doing something about PBAT inauguration. For the life of me, I don't know what that thing means. I have no idea what that. If you know, please, any of you can share light on that stuff. I've seen all these people that call themselves. They say they're from South Rivers. I said to them, if you're from Rivers, me, I'm from mountains. They are going there to go and commiserate to the president, and I'm like, in your communities, what is this benefit? You know, it felt like it's these old people that are a problem. Our fathers age, these people are a problem in that country, because I think it's those people still being around, it's easy for them to corrupt the young ones. So yes, there are ways he can do it. He can create performance targets and build a small team around him. If he needs security, he can start with, I mean, it's not common for us to now have foreign allies. I mean, America being an ally, yeah, UK being an ally, what have we gained from it? You know, like this guy said in the last call, there are forces, external forces, who also want, it's not just the external forces, they want us to be like that so that they can come in, rape, pillage our resources, and we are left there fighting ourselves, and you know, while we have the greedy ones. So at the end of the day, it shouldn't be uncommon for him to also seek to get some foreign alliance to help to support in terms of intel and things like that. So yeah, a Nigerian leader can do that, but it will be a very difficult.
But everything you've said, but or any president in Nigeria has done the same, which is that they will create a team around them, and then they will liaise. They would make friendship with various countries. So I think
no, they've not done. They've done the same. So there's a difference between.
One second.
I get what you mean. That's not what they've done. They've been corrupt. They've not done creating a team to sell out your country, or to embezzle money and siphon money, and you know, create more corrupt agencies like the one that they said there was a government agency that was allocated 1 point something billion naira. I mean, that alone is even enough. Imagine, I can't imagine in the UK here, you just see on the news that there was an agency that was existing that they allocated 500 billion pounds to. Somebody will be in jail right now as I'm speaking to you. There'll be like, it will be. You understand what I'm trying to say? So
yeah, I mean, this ties in. So I can give my answer as well, to give my own opinion about this, because it's an interesting conversation. There's a short video I just want to quickly play, which, funny enough, deals with Peter Obi already as it stands. But just have, and then I'll give my own thoughts, and then we can, because we're already moving exactly where I was expecting us to move anyway. But let me just share this quick video really quick. Just let me know.
Hope it's the right direction now.
We'll see. Right. Take, you can see it already. That's fine. Let's go for it.
Right.
So we're having ministry. Yeah, we're not rich where we're having agencies. So we're having ministries without anybody knowing it exists. Employing people, holding seminars abroad, collecting money and budget.
On that case, though,
We used to have what the ghost workers. Because we didn't do anything.
we have ghost agency.
Soon you become ghost ministry.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ghost governors and ghost presidents.
Okay, final.
I think this video is quite useful as well, because it points out the points that you've kind of both raised, but it kind of enforces what I think is the right answer. I think that there is no president anywhere, no president, no human being that can fix anything. So how much power does that president actually have? Not that very much, because we're talking about something that's endemic to the unfortunately, to the Nigerian people. As a Nigerian, there's something in our culture, and where it's interesting is that it doesn't apply very often when Nigerians leave Nigeria. They know how to adapt to different situations. But I've noticed this as well. Sometimes we also export that culture of exploitation, self-serving views, and a focus on opportunism, which is not always bad, but can be, because we look for any opportunities. We're very short-sighted in general. And then when you apply this at scale in the whole country, where you can start having things like, to his point, to Peter Obi's point in that video, ghost ministries. The ghost worker issue, when the last time I read about it, was something that was costing upward of $2 billion in Nigeria, which is insane. In a country that our GDP, what's our GDP in there that's costing $2 billion? In any country, $2 billion wastage in ghost workers is problematic, even if it's even in the first world. But in a country where, what's the minimum wage now in Nigeria? Somewhere like 36K or something like that, right? If correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe it might be a bit higher. Who knows? It can't be much more than that. Let's even say it's 50 grand. Multiply that through to where we're losing billions in ghost workers. To me, it's utterly insane. The reason why this happens is because the judiciary itself, as an institution and as a culture, is corrupt. The legal aspect as well, the legislation or the legislature, is corrupt. Again, as an institution and as a culture. Executive, and by executive, I apply to all the branches of the executive, whether we're talking about the civil service, all of that stuff, everything. Corruption is endemic in the Nigerian lifestyle. You wake up in the morning as a Nigerian, you're thinking about how the vulcanizer has probably stabbed your tire so you can fix it. You know what I mean? It's that kind of situation where everyone is always consistently thinking about that. One person coming in as a president, what are the powers of a president? He can propose policies here and there. He can create, he can organize executive decisions, etc. But what powers does he actually really have? If you really sit down and you think about that, he's doing things like appointing officials, to Obi's point, that you can get a couple of people around him or key people. But again, so what? You have a couple of people. He can propose budgets. He can apply political pressure here and there. Beyond that, what can you do? In a country of almost, how many are we now? Again, haven't kept count to the population count, but I know somewhere probably at this point somewhere close to 300 million people within the country. A country that has that many people, sorry?
I think about 200, 220. 220,
Okay, yeah.
230 million. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about still in hundreds of millions of people there. How much influence can 1, 2, 3, 10, 50, 20 people, 100, 200, even if he has this big, massive cabal that he has created of very well-intentioned, very intelligent, very disciplined, very honest, hardworking people, 2,000 of them, what impact are you going to make in a country of 220 million people? Nothing. You can't do anything, because the issue for me stems back from the fact that we have inherited a system. And this is the part that I think that we can look at as well. Can a good leader succeed in a bad system? We have inherited a bad system. We've created one, and we're operating within it that is not compatible with our behaviors, our attitudes on life, and our general cultures across the different tribes and ethnicities that exist within Nigeria. We've been shoved into a country that doesn't make sense, stuffed with the political system that we don't like to operate, we don't understand it, and we don't like using it, and then we're somehow expected to be able to operate effectively and efficiently. It's not going to happen. Never going to happen. We're going to remain corrupt. We're going to remain underdeveloping, underperforming, until we resolve that issue of changing the underlying system. Nigeria as a country does not work. We need to split that country into the countries that want to be together as the individual countries. The system of democracy doesn't work. Keep saying this almost every single time whenever it comes up, but we need a system of meritocratic autocracy. It's the only system I can think about that works, which uses a cross of competence, capability, and people's direct vote. To your point, Jab, that you raised earlier, about how people don't have a direct vote in all the things that matter. Meritocratic autocracy would allow that to happen, because at that point you're voting in the people who sit within your vertical of your capability, and you're getting those people in who get the people above them, who get the people above them. That's the closest thing. So the answer to the question, in my view, and there's 3 key questions here. What can the president genuinely control? Not a whole lot. They can control a very small amount of things through their policies and through their appointments, etc., and proposal of different laws and regulations, but there's not much they can go beyond that. Can an honest leader reach power without becoming compromised in Nigeria? Absolutely not, because of the cultural issues and challenges that we just talked about now, that people cannot get to the top without being corrupt. So even Obi, when you're talking about Peter Obi, it doesn't work either. I believe he's corrupt. He did not get to where he got to without being corrupt. There's some aspects of corruption that are going to be there, but he's good and well enough to be able to control and handle that narrative. He's kept that quiet and is very intelligent about it. You do not get anywhere in Nigeria without being corrupt. And then the third question is around progress disappearing when things change. That's one of the biggest things, to your point, Jab, that you're just asking as well, and saying, well, didn't other people come before and also appoint additional people? Yes, they did. And most of them probably had very good intentions. But then the Nigerian culture seeps through. And after a while, people just give up. They just give up and just say, look, this is the system I'm in. If everything is corrupt and I can't fix everything, I have two options. I get out because the system will push me out, or I become corrupt myself. And then people often just say, well, if I can't change it, I join it. If you can't beat them, you join them. That's my view on this particular thoughts. Any additional thoughts on that before we move into the other question that I thought was interesting around who holds power accountable, since we're talking about that? But any additional thoughts on this section?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to reiterate the points I made earlier, and that is that this, I agree with you. This is a system that we have imported without asking how it's relevant to us. Yeah, but what the system does is that it allows the people. It creates the illusion of participation. The people think that they are participating. It says you've got power because you can elect who you want. But the thing is that the majority of people are actually excluded from the system, because if you are not a billionaire in Nigeria today, or you haven't got money in that sort of fashion, or a godfather in that fashion, you cannot even stand for election. Right? Yeah. So So you've got to be somebody who has got a lot of billions. And if you don't have it, you have to find somebody who will sponsor you. And when they sponsor you, they become your godfather, and they literally dictate sort of what happens. Yeah. So it's kind of similar to what happens in America. Maybe not so much the individuals, because there it's the companies. So again, you cannot run for elections unless you've got the backing and the support of this multi-billion, now maybe even trillion companies standing behind you. And he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So when you get there, you are then going to find that, actually, assuming that you were naive and you didn't know, you're going to find that the system doesn't work like that. The way the system works is that the people who install you and put you in power put you there because they want you to serve their interests. Their interests are opposed to the majority of the people, but they cannot rule. A few people cannot rule the entire, hundreds of millions of people or tens of millions of people without creating a narrative, without making them feel that my interests are the same as yours, except that materially.
Is there any democratic system that doesn't do this? Or democratic or socialist system that doesn't do the exact same thing?
So
they all do that. All of them require some very, very key individuals who have access to media, funding, to pay for exposure, to buy votes, essentially by promising very specific kind of outputs, etc., discounts, things like that, incentives, etc. All of them work that way. That's how democracy cannot work any other way.
Correct.
Right?
So this point I'm making. So first of all, for the people, it creates the illusion that they are in control, they are participating, they've got a choice, except that in reality, they don't really have a choice. But that system carries on going for as long as people buy into it and they believe that it happens and that it will deliver on the goods that it promises. This is where I'm going with this, right? So I think Obi might have missed what I was saying, which was that in Nigeria, to even stand the election, you have to be a billionaire yourself, or you have to have a godfather or somebody else who is backing you.
No. I agree with you, but go on. I just because I've got something to say.
So in essence, that is how the system works. So when we say democracy or bourgeois democracy, which is what we're describing here, it is democracy that serves the interest of the few over the many. So I hear you saying that Peter Obi is going to work this big fantastic magic. He belongs to the elite, to the ruling class, right? And these people, once again, I know that at home they will say, oh, if somebody from the south is their turn now, it's south turn, or southeast or southwest, or whatever, all these zones fighting, or somebody might say, oh, it's if Christians get there, or maybe if Muslims get there, or maybe if APC gets a particular party, and all of those kind of things. But when they sit in the assembly and they sit down to decide how the resources of this country are allocated and who gets what, it's the same people. When you get there, you're going to find Igbos, Yorubas, and Hausas, and all these various tribes. If you belong in the elite, so it's a class. This is what I'm saying. You need to start to look at this thing as a class system. When you're
Wait,
there,
sorry, Jobs.
one second, when you're there, because people will say Igbos are marginalized and all of those things, right? But when you get there, Igbos participate in the state of
Marginalization
affairs,
themselves.
right? The South people, the Joe people participate there. So it's an elite class. Their kids marry each other. They go to Dubai to party. They do everything together. So, but to divide the people, to be able to rule and maintain this privilege, they tell the people your enemy is the guy from
Yoruba
Jigawa.
guy, and the Yoruba guy's enemy is the one that's
The guy who's wearing
from.
slippers like you, who doesn't have
Mm.
money and who has not eaten all morning and all day, he's your enemy because he's from the north or he's from the west, right? So as long as people are fighting each other, this system works and it will just perpetuate itself. Sorry, Obi, I hope you could. I've made my
Yeah,
point.
so I had your points. There was a lot. You guys made a lot of points. So I was trying to, because it's easy to get sidetracked. Akatsu, your room is quite dark. Why are you just dark? It's very dark inside here.
I'm not a fan of sunlight.
I feel like I can't only see. So you see, you guys said a lot of things. So there's quite a few things you guys mentioned. First of all, I want to point out that I never said Peter Obi was a saint, or I say it's the closest thing we have to a Messiah. I say I like to make sure that my words are not misconstrued to mean something. I never said that he's not corrupt. So I said that Peter Obi is the closest thing we have to a Messiah. Why? Given to the track record, history. If you want to do something, you look at reviews. If you want to go to a shop you've never been to online, or you're purchasing something, you always have to look at reviews. Now, only Nigerians I know say they know they look review because, like I said, my stomach infrastructure. And you also mentioned there's a few. Then you went ahead to say that you do not believe Peter Obi would be able to perform. And I would like to point out to you there are instances. There's an example where you guys mentioned about godfatherism. Yes, I agree. Godfatherism is an issue in Nigerian political space, because I have an example. If you remember, Ngige was a medical doctor in America who came back to Nigeria to run for the governor of Anambra State, and he thought, with his American experience and way of living, that politics in Nigeria was politics of you there, you do some work, right? Until the Godfather came and they wanted him to give them 70% of the state allocation. And then my man said, how I go give him 70% of the state allocation? Wait till I won't do. And then show my man, say, it be like say, one wise. Wait till I then kidnap my man. But before they kidnap my man, I want you to know that order came from the top. For him, first of all, they removed this police protection. He did not have police protection for about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then he only had the state security service as at then. What now became the DSS, was the SSS then. They were about men, untrained men, where they just carry gun, wear suits, wear this thing. So, and that order for the withdrawal of his state police service came from Obasanjo. Well, allegedly, I need to use that word very well. Allegedly,
use that word.
So and you understand how you see how the sort of the org chart, or the way it's coming from. So it's not just coming from the Godfather. Is the Godfathers. The Godfather is there for a reason. They also have people that they report to, and the people, your guy at the top, like that guy said. The guy, like that man said, it was not lying when he said my Oga at the top. Maybe his level of education and literacy is not something that he could comprehend into words that make English sense. But he said the Oga at the top. He was not lying when they said the Oga at the top, and the Oga at the top is corruption. So yes, there are.
Oh, have we lost Obi again? We might have lost him. It's worth. Oh, are you back? Yeah, there we go. You're back.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're back.
So sorry, what did you get? Where did I cut? So did you hear the Oga at the top?
Yeah. We just lost you for about 3 seconds, I think. Oh, lost you again. You are really now, Oga. You're the Oga at the top.
Okay,
There's
well,
a second.
let's move to the next section. He'll join
Yeah,
us.
so there's another section. This other section is an interesting one, and it's something I wanted
I'm
to look
sorry
at.
about
Oh,
that. Am I back?
you're back now. Yeah, you
Yeah,
cut out
sorry
again.
about
But
that.
it's
So
slightly longer.
I'll just quickly round up because this time
Yeah,
is taking. So
go for it.
and then so I was trying to say something about the class. You said the political class, the ruling class, the elite. I've said it before. Nigeria is a country where you have elite, a country. I've never seen elites in a shithole country before, but you call them political class. So they have that. You know, they
Wow.
have the few. They have. It's what? Sorry. Is what
I
to
said,
say.
well, I think because what starts to happen at that point. I mean, I don't want to. I'm just going to do a quick point, and then you can carry
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
But what tends to happen is you
Yeah.
start having
You know,
global. You start having global elites, people who become
okay,
so
yeah.
successful
So,
and so
but
good
you
at what
know,
they that they now transcend countries and regions, and they start becoming global elites.
elites. So Nigeria's case, you know, the whole classism and that happens that make people want to believe that they're better than one another. But that thing you said about when you go to the political space, you know, that niche space where you have Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. Yes, I agree with you, because at the end of the day, the person ruling Anambra State is not going to be an Hausa man who is an Igbo man that is there. But you have to look at these people, and like I said, the enemy outside can do you no harm if there is no enemy within. And if you have these people you are talking, these are the people I consider them as the enemies within, because there is no way you can tell me that someone who's got a conscience to and they fear God, let me put it that way, because you see that religious thing. I said to someone, Nigeria is a very religious country, but it's not a God-fearing country. Because if Nigeria is a God-fearing country, whether Allah or Jesus Christ, or Nigeria will not be.
So economics is not about morality. It doesn't follow moral laws. It's
I grew up. Sorry,
no, it doesn't.
I grew up. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
It doesn't follow moral.
Yeah, go on, jab. You can go for a little bit, and then Obi, you can come back off the rejoinder. Jab,
Well, I think
go?
we've done 42 minutes. I'm thinking that maybe we do need to go to the next point. I think
Section.
I just wanted to just say that when we say follow the money and things will make sense, so economics is not about morality. It's just about where power works and who controls the means of production, who controls the power in a society, and to what use do they put that. That is what it's about. So the idea that you can get the Pope and make him the president of a country, you know, if the interests that govern that society decide that they want to go to war and they want to commit genocide, he'll have to do it. He will have to superintend that if he wants to remain the leader of that country. Exactly, if that's what he wants to do. So
yeah,
it's not. It's. I just wanted to just say that.
No, that's a valid point. So I want to jump into the next section, and this is it for me. Is an important one. I'm just going to share a video again. That's okay. As usual, fair use. The links to these videos that we use would always be in the description, going forward anyway. But this part where I'm looking at the next question for us, the next section I think we need to look at is just, can Nigeria actually build institutions that last? 1, 2, does Nigeria need reform, restructuring, or a new constitution? And then the third bit there would just be around, can the beneficiaries of the system be trusted to reform it? But I just want to go through this video as well, and just let me know if you can hear it. If you can't hear it, actually.
Away from the budget defense sessions, now let's turn our attention toward the news as Nigeria has retained its low score on the 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index, CPI, standing at 26 out of 100 for the second consecutive year. This was stated during a media briefing organized by the Transparency International in conjunction with the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, in Abuja. Muhammad Rabiu brings us details.
Nigeria's exit from the Financial Action Task Force grey list in October 2025 was a significant milestone. The role of civil society organizations and the media in exposing corruption and promoting accountability has also been acknowledged as essential pillars of Nigeria's democracy. The latest index shows that Nigeria has dropped in 2 places on the global ranking, moving from 148th position in 2024 to 142nd out of 180 countries in 2025, reflecting continued public perception of widespread corruption and limited progress in governance reforms.
Demonstrating significant progress, Nigerians' effort to recover and repatriate stolen assets, replicate growing international cooperation, and strengthen domestic enforcement. Over the course of 2025, domestic anti-corruption agencies made significant recoveries.
Reaffirming its commitment to national development, CISLAC says it remains open to working with government institutions and stakeholders to strengthen transparency, accountability, and democratic governance in Nigeria.
I think what this raises straight away to me, and it'll be good to hear both of your thoughts after that video, is that my initial thought, or the question that comes across here, is based on where we are, based on the conversations we've already had, and we've talked about quite a few different aspects of things. Is it actually possible? Because we already have constitutions, we have laws, we have reform strategies, some of which Obi has talked about. We've got committees, we've got digital transformation programs. We've got all of these things already. They're already in place. We have lots of all these things. However, can we actually build the institutions that last, that serve the purposes that we know after the discussions we've already had? Jab, you've raised quite a few things about the grassroots and them not being impacted because they're being turned against each other. With that system in place that we've got, is it possible for us to be able to do that? It's not a case of what reform do we need. Is that, are we able to impose or create that reform? And how do we ensure that that reform stays even when power changes hands? Because power would inevitably change hands. Any initial thoughts on that one?
Okay, so let me make a quick point here, which is, I think you've got to be careful. The CPI. So, what is the CPI for Switzerland and any number of these tax havens around the world, right? Okay. So they're going to be at the opposite end where Nigeria is, okay? So Nigeria is very corrupt. Switzerland is not corrupt, even though it keeps the loots. Even though these tax havens keep the loots from Nigeria and from the Congo and from everybody else, right? So a friend of
Does
the
that
thief,
make them corrupt, though?
okay, well, a friend of a thief is what then? If I steal money and I come to you and I keep that money with you, are you an accomplice? Are you corrupt? No?
I think I think that's a massive simplification of what is actually going on.
I don't think
Massive
it's
oversimplification.
No, I don't think it's
I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why, really briefly, why I think that's a massive oversimplification. Is that the challenge with corruption is not just that you're doing things that you don't like, is that you're doing things that are against your own laws and your own regulations and against your own institutional structures that you've put in place. Corruption is not just I'm doing something you don't like. Different organizations, for example,
show me where it is okay to keep the loot. Okay, today, if I stole money, right, and I brought it to you, and you kept it for me, and we got found out, do you think you're going to escape jail time? No,
James, I think you're oversimplifying this thing, because
no, but I'm going somewhere with it anyway.
Are you talking about where the corrupt money is going to? Like when you say Switzerland or what? Because these two different things are involved.
I'll make my point. Let me make my point. So, okay,
go for it.
So my point is that the CPI itself is a tool for something else, and it's about how you tell stories about African countries, in the same way that you would have heard Western politicians saying that The Hague is not meant for Western politicians, right? So they can commit genocide, they can go to wars, they can do everything else. That's fine, but
they can't, because they get again, especially as long as this is what's happening to Israel at the moment already. What's happened with Netanyahu? He's been designated essentially.
Please, let me finish, if you don't mind. Let me just
let me just take points.
Yeah. So the point they make is that some of these institutions are only meant for third world countries and for Africans, right? So, and to come back to the point about the corruption that you're talking about,
Mhm.
the Nobel winners for economics last year, either 2024 or 2025, were Darren Acemoglu and I think somebody Robinson, right? They wrote a book that I had and I read over 10 years ago. It's called Why Nations Fail. And their
Yep.
argument is that countries with weak institutions, they call them extractive institutions, uh, so countries are either progressive or poor depending on the kinds of institutions that they have, right? So if you have weak institutions, then you're underdeveloped. If you've got good institutions and strong institutions, then you are then that
Developed.
country, yeah, develops. Okay, so that's the central theme of their argument, and they were rewarded with the Nobel Peace Prize. And I said something last week or a couple of weeks ago, which is that the dominant ideas of a society are the ideas of its ruling class. And there's a reason why they want to propagate that idea, because it does not mention. So, which countries are the ones that have the strong institutions? They're the countries traditionally which colonized and looted the resources of the rest of the world. The poor countries with these weak institutions are the countries that have been exploited and are continue to be exploited as I speak, right? So, but it does not want you to frame the problem in that with that understanding, because that would then challenge the dominant ideas, right? Because if people understand that they're not just corrupt because, in the case of Africans, we're not backwards because we happen to just be black, but actually there is a history of extraction which continues till date, then you might then start to understand, so why have we got weak nations? Why have we got weak institutions? And when you start to interrogate things that way, it leads you to places that are very, very uncomfortable for your colonizers. So, and this is kind of the picture in which you have to look at the CPI, because so yes, African countries like Nigeria are at the bottom of that. So very, very corrupt. But it doesn't talk about the people who are exploiting. I mean, is exploitation not not corruption? It is corruption, right?
I mean,
So, but
it depends what you mean by expectation as well. Because you're throwing a lot of things in. You're firing a number of different interesting tracks here. I think they're very interesting,
yeah. So
but they
so
don't
the,
necessarily follow fully with what your main theme of the
so no
argument.
no. So my main. So to come back to that point, which is what you're asking us, which is that can Nigeria build institutions that are enduring and strong? That's your question. So
Yes.
there is no country that cannot do that, right? So to answer your question, yes, we can, but by what means is the question, right? So I don't feel that you can reform this system that we have as long as it is a system that continues based on the class conflict that I talked about. If that is a system that you're trying to reform, yes, people may get a small amount of crumbs thrown at them every now and again, but fundamentally, you are going to carry on to have a situation where just the few people structure the system in a way that benefits them, and the masses will carry on suffering.
So to directly answer the question, because the question is this: there's
Sorry, can
three
I can
options.
I can I say something here, please? Because I feel like you guys have been talking and I've not actually, and I'm
No,
missing
no.
a lot
I'll,
of
I'll, I'll,
interesting.
I'll come to you. I'll come to you in a second. I just want to make sure that we're all following still on the theme of the question and we're following the general gist of it. But it comes
Yeah, I
because
was
what
going
I've
to.
done is there's three options I think that we have. And again, if there's a third one, because Jab, you've explained the challenge, but then the answer to the question of what does Nigeria then need? Reform, restructuring, or a whole new constitution and a whole new system that would handle how we deal with the challenges that you've already raised. because we're aware of those challenges now, and we've had a few conversations over the year and a half. God, it's been a while, but yeah, almost 2 years of having these conversations, and it's like, well, okay, we know the cause. What's the solution? Obi, maybe you can have a stab at that. Then we'll come back to Jab.
So if I may say, yeah. So
Mhm.
so one of the things I noticed that Jabs is always going on about, even from the first call with Farouk, where they say if you talking about if you keep blaming someone for your problem, you would never be able to, move past solving that problem. And I'm not saying that there's no someone responsible, that someone is not responsible for your problem, but I think it's high time that we try to see beyond that colonizer mindset, even though there are still the external forces there. And this will be a collective action for every Nigerian involved, every single Nigerian involved, because it's not just okay, we recognize there's a problem, some hindrance there, and then we decide to we some people want to solve that problem, some people don't want to solve it. Because when you talk about looting stolen funds and keeping stolen funds abroad, yes, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. The friend of a friend is a friend of a thief is a thief. Yes and no, because this is, you cannot apply that situation to what these people are doing, because they still have laws that govern them in there. And I've never heard one day that, oh, you say this Swiss bank was apprehended for keeping stolen funds from a country. It does not happen. It will never happen. We know it's not designed to happen that way. We know that these systems are put in place. Like I said before, Obasanjo created EFCC allegedly to go after his opposition. The same way we've got these institutions there that have been created
Allegedly,
to allegedly.
Robert
Thank you.
Obasanjo.
That's why I say allegedly. And the same way we also have these banks, these Swiss banks that have been created that are allegedly there to also, take these stolen funds. I mean, the other day, Days Alison Maddox got off from all counts of fraud, and that we both know that she committed fraud. Every Nigerian knows, but she got off in the UK system. So yes, the judiciary is also there. It favors. No system is perfect. We understand that, but the aim of my whole
Oh, Obi, we've I've lost you a little bit again.
I'm going to burn this internet. My
We,
main
we, we, lo- we
argument
lost
is
you.
that there. Can you hear me?
Saying it was burn
So
the
what?
internet. We can hear you now.
What I'm trying to say. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm saying that there is no system that is not corrupt. America is corrupt. Even the UK is corrupt. God damn it. Even Norway, they say they're one of the top 5 countries in the world to live in, Europe to live in. They are still corrupt. But Nigeria's corruption is to a level that even the devil himself will be shocked that that's all that they do for here. Because there is the argument, my main argument is this. I'm not talking about let's wipe out corruption. I'm actually talking about for the common man. I'm not interested in what Nigerians we know that Nigeria's got resources. I'm talking about how is this going to benefit the common man who is there, the akara sellers, the kuli, the farmers, the people that cannot afford. How many people even travel in Nigeria? Less than 1.5%. So majority of Nigerians are there. I've got families there. And when you keep on blaming um foreign bodies, yes, there's a foreign bodies, but we need to look at our own internal bodies that are the enablers, the people enabling these foreign external factors. We have our own people there. And if you're talking about the elites, I believe that the first solution to solving a problem is on an understanding that you have a problem. So yes, Nigeria can actually build institutions that last. Going to that your question, because I've not answered that question. Yes, we can. We have a history. We've built CBN. We've built INEC. We've built EFCC. We built. They've got. So yes, Nigeria. Our courts, our judiciary system. We've had our Supreme Court since we've had our 1960 independence, right? So it's understandable. We can do all of this, but the issue there is, can they last? we can build institutions. Yes, we've determined that we can build institutions. Can they last? There are obstacles involved. Political, we're talking about obstacles. You look at political patronage, weak enforcement, all still boils down to the issues that I mentioned before: corruption, low budgets, all these things. So that question is already answered because we have it, but we've got the obstacles there, which will definitely hinder it. So what we need is a total overhaul of the one that we built. Going back to this, something he said, it was an option C that he said, is it a total overhaul? What we need is a total overhaul, because if you have an injury on your say something is eating at you, you're not going to be treating that surface. It's always good to go to the root cause. If it's eating too much sugar that is causing your jelly, you stop eating sugar so that you not reach a level where you need to amputate your your leg or your limb or something. Like the doctor in the house will know that. So we have to look at the RCA, and that entails going back to the basis, which also would align to what Farouk is saying about the external factors. We talk about the colonizers. We have to look at the link with the colonizers and how it's affecting us. There's so many layers to that. So and we also have to look at our strengths. Nigeria has a very large population of educated people. I'm not going to lie to you. We are quite educated, and also, but I don't know why but the people that are ruling us, it's like the less educated, the most educated are being ruled by the less. Because if you look at all our ruling class that we're talking about, I mean, come on, see the way your president presents, see the way the first lady presents. It's at this time of that I miss a first lady like Mariam Babangida. Nigeria, I think that's the best first lady Nigeria ever had in the history of Nigeria. I mean, in terms of presenting. But look at P2B and look at P2B's wife. Tell me you will not like someone like P2B or his wife to be the first lady. I'm sure if you can go and look at his wife and understand what I'm talking about. So history also shows that there are countries who have faced worse corruption than Nigeria. Look at Korea, Botswana, Indonesia, South Korea. These countries, they have history of rebuilding. But what did they do? It was not from the middle. They had to go back to the root cause. They had to cut off that external forces, which Farouk is talking about. You can't.
Oh, have we lost him? Lost him now.
If sorry.
Oh, you're back.
I'm still here.
Are you back? Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
So let me just round up what I'm trying to say. So you do not expect someone who is like, for example, if I have a place where I'm seeing $3 or free.
Your internet is not happy today at all.
No, it's not. I think also we've done an hour. I think we might need to consider rounding it up, I think.
No, yeah. I mean, we're there. We've got one last question anyway, and then that just goes into closing points. And that last question, we've kind of already talked about it. Go on, Obi, you're back.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry. I do apologize, but I'm sure by next week I'll have my internet sorted out. So if for example, I'm walking on the street and I see a hole that 100 pounds pushes out from every day, and I know that it's one old guy who left his wallet that's
well. Oh no, Obi. Might have to jump into to your point. I might have to just jump into the final points really around it, and just look at the part around can the people who are there reform it. I think that's really the final. Oh, you're back again, Obi. We're just moving to the
I'm so sorry.
The last question. That's all right.
So basically, let me just say this. We are not going to expect. We're not going to. We should not be expecting the people that are exploiting us to suddenly wake up one morning and say, "Oh, we are exploiting this African nation's resources. We are causing them Boko Haram in this corner so that we're able to make that. We don't expect people that came to buy our ancestors as slaves, even though we sold them as slaves. They're not expecting those people to wake up one day, boom, and be like, oh, let's stop all this. No, it's not going to happen. We have to do it ourselves. So going by the examples of countries like South Korea, Indonesia, North Korea, what they did was simple. Cut off with that external forces. Even Singaporean leader said it, Lee Kuan, he cut off with the colonizers' mindset, with the colonizers' forces, lock themselves in and fix their problem. Because as a family, if Nigeria wants to be a family, which I don't believe we can ever be a family, we have to cut out all external problems and solve our internal problems, within ourselves without the external forces, because they will also have their they will have their own interest at heart, not our own interest. We've seen it so many times with the CIA in America. They're talking about Americans' interest, or they're talking about
Allegedly.
British interest. Allegedly. But
Allegedly.
so at the end of the day, we have to stop blaming these external forces and look ourselves. So Nigeria can do it. We've done it, but the biggest challenge we have is continuity. So since we cannot do that, we cannot do we all know that Nigeria lacks maintenance culture. I'm not trying to demarket Nigeria, but we know this, because we need to be telling ourselves the truth and be saying the truth. So
that's why we have this conversation every week.
At the end of the day, the fact that we don't have that maintenance culture, we cannot talk about continuity, because both go hand in hand. So what we need is a total overhaul of what we currently have here. Democracy is not working for us. It has never worked for us. It was forced upon us. We are not ready to accept democracy. We are not ready to deal with democracy. We could join together by the interest of the powers that be at that time. If you look at the 1885 Berlin meeting, the Royal Niger Company, all these things, that factors that we have to understand, that we cannot currently function as anything without a total overhaul. So the answer is yes and no, and total overhaul is what we need, because yes, we can do it. No, we cannot continue it, and it's already corrupted. So the system is corrupt. If you're building something and you see something is corrupt, you can't continue.
I'm really sorry, guys. I think
so. Let's go.
I should have mentioned that I've got to be somewhere at 8:30.
Oh, wow.
Which is now. Yes, I'm going to have to leave.
Right, that's all right.
We can cover this off.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. Good having you as always. I mean, enjoy the appointment that you've got now, and then obviously we'll speak on the other side.
Okay, thank you.
All right, nice.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
So I think for me, go on.
So, like I said, the biggest challenge you have is continuity. So I don't think it's going to. We just have to think of the total overhaul, because unless we just want to be managing it as it is for the next whatever until it explodes, I don't know what's going to happen. But
what does that for you? Maybe I'll start first and give you my own thoughts, and then. But for you, what does that total overhaul? What does it now? Because I'm going to pop back around that question. So, do we need reform, restructuring, a new constitution? I mean, so in my view, I'll just give my own point really quickly. In my view, that new constitution requires. I mean, again, I said it earlier, but I'm just saying it again, just for anyone who's come later on, or anyone who watches this on the back end, on the flip side later on. My view is always going to be a meritocratic autocracy. I'm going to keep saying this word and running in there till it becomes a word and people start using it. Meritocratic autocracy. We need to change all of this nonsense that's there around. You're just voting people based on your stomach, or you're voting people based on your feelings. I was watching something today where someone was saying that the past doesn't matter. They're clearly one of those reform, or one of those more harder right-wing party people. And he came into this call on, I think it was LBC, and then he was talking about how, you forget about the past. People asking, well, was it bad when King Leopold was in the Congo and they were chopping people's arms and legs off? And it's like, no, you can't decide whether that's bad or it's not bad. It's like, what are you saying? Was World War II bad in terms of the way they were killing people in concentration camps? No, you can't look at the past and be able to determine whether people are bad or they're not bad. It's like, that is really, really stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really silly. I think we're able to look at all of these things, assess the past, make informed decisions about the future, and move forward from that. When I look at where we are now, having a system that allows us to be able to choose people based on our capabilities and our abilities, we can then, it no longer has anything whatsoever. The person who's going to be the head of motoring, for example, is going to go all the way down to vulcanizers. Is vulcanizers are going to choose the person that chooses the person that chooses the person that chooses the head of vehicles and licensing and stuff like that within the country. When we talk about people who have been the petroleum minister or whatever the Desani equivalent, we're going down to all the people who do the petrol. They sell buckets of petrol. They can vote, but that's all you can vote for. It forces people to focus not just on the self-interest, but also on the understanding of what matters in the country. And I think that's a big thing. That's the only way. And it's a whole new constitution. It's not restructuring, it's not reform, it's changing the way we operate, the way we think about elections, the way we think about competence, the way we think about positions of power, and just changing it all. That's what I think. That's my own view about the whole situation.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen now, man. That's the problem. That whole changing of constitution.
Why not?
No, because do you know what changing?
What if someone comes in there with them and they're saying that this is my mandate? I'm coming in here to change the constitution, and they get elected.
To change Nigeria's constitution will require
Oh, you're breaking up.
Military intervention.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Because on my phone. Well, let me.
Yeah, you're back now.
Bear with me 1 second. I'm back now. Yeah, just bear with me 1 second.
Yeah.
Bear with me 1 second. Yes. So
what did you said military intervention.
Sorry, say that again.
You said military intervention, right?
Yes, I said Nigeria will require military intervention in order to change the constitution, because that constitution that has been written now is.
You're on mute. You're on mute. On the other device, the one you just dialed in with. You're still on mute. You need to unmute on the thing.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yep.
Right. So cool. So, what I'm trying to say is that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clear.
Yeah. So basically, military intervention is required for Nigeria to change the constitution, because we know that constitution was written. Was it 1970? I can't remember what it was written, but that is what we're using to operate in this current situation state that we are now. That is benefiting the political class, because they use that constitution to back up all the nonsense that's going on. We already have a constitution, so there are forces that will not want that constitution to change. That's why I said it's not going to be possible. Figure out. That's why I said it's.
I know what you mean, but there's always going to be powers
but
that be
my
things.
argument now is the thing that we can see in my lifetime, or that we can see before I die or before I leave this, that my children's children can enjoy, and is for me. I'm trying to be realistic here. Can you hear me? Am I okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. You're perfectly fine. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm thinking of what my children's children might be able to enjoy, because let's face the fact, we're still a long way off. So overall, the overhaul that I'll be talking about, that I'll be wanting to implement, will be institutional rather than constitutional, because that constitution, there is nobody that can come in and say right now, I don't see it. I'm trying to be realistic. I'm not trying to live in la la land. I'm saying what I'm saying now, and that would constitution changes may help in some areas if you think about it, but again, the lasting progress of that constitution changes depends on the system which that constitution is being created.
Constitution.
So if it's a total overhaul of
which is the point?
Are you speaking? I can't hear you. That's my.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? No, you're on mute now. You're on mute. You've muted it on the thing. You just need to click mute in the app.
having double sound.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I've unmuted you. It's fine.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, go for it. Oh, what's happened?
Bear with me 1 second. I think I've got some microphone issues. I'm not sure why.
No, I can hear you now. So I moved you from the other from the laptop.
All right,
now.
sorry about that, but apologies to the viewers.
No worries. No worries.
Next week, everything will be sorted. So, yeah, what was I saying? So, yeah, constitutional changes. It may help in some areas, but lasting.
What you were saying was, what you said was, institutions need to be changed. However, in order to actually change them for a long-term solution, you require constitutional changes. So you're still coming back to the same thing, that you're looking for a short-term remedy for a long-term problem.
Exactly. But but I'm trying to be practical. Do you see a constitution?
But there's no practicality. It doesn't. I don't think there's any practical anything. All of it has to be revolutionary in the fact that we are doing something.
Okay. Now you're going. Yes. Okay.
I'm saying you're wasting your time, because if you come in there, that's the angle. I'm going with this angle of these conversations we need to be having about.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes, the total overhaul of that I am with that 100%.
And we need to make people know. And then we need to make people know that that's what needs to happen, because the only way it can ever happen is if people start to listen. So even if we start having these conversations, and it's not just us, there's other people there, there are people in our secondary school groups, other groups, people who are listening to this as well. They start having those conversations, the conversation starts to spread, and people are beginning to have the conversation about, actually, maybe we need to change the constitution and how we're set up. That instead of focusing on these institutions and these very short-term gains that we can try to fix, we're actually doing something bigger. Do you know what I mean? Oh, we lost you again. We might have lost you again. I think we might have. Oh, there we go. You're back. It's pretty interesting. It keeps cutting out and just going freezing and coming back. And it's very specific as well.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, but I can hear you now. Did you hear what I said?
No. I just wanted, if you could just repeat that again, I'll get that.
The main thing that I was saying is that we have the conversations with people, with ourselves, me, you, everybody else is on here, Jab, Farouk, Yemi, etc. And then we're having these conversations, and we expand the conversations and begin to have the conversations in a wider forum. And then we continue to talk. And then we continue to expand people's knowledge. People start to think that actually institutions are not going to resolve anything. If you go in there and you go reform INEC, it's not changing anything that's affecting the wider system, because somebody else from another civil service department will just come in there and do the exact same thing that they're doing everywhere, because the constitution permits that to happen. I like what China has done. Corruption, death penalty, sorted, constitutionally fixed. If we do think, it could even be something as simple as that. If you are corrupt and you're found to be corrupt, beyond reasonable doubt, where everybody agrees, they behead you, done, firing squad, take you to Bar Beach, and they'll shoot your ass. Do you know what I mean? That's and it's not focusing on institutions themselves. Yeah, it changes the whole process and the whole system. Yeah, and I'm not even saying we need to go through the whole democracy. Let's even forget basic things like that. If you are found to be corrupt beyond any reasonable doubt, they shoot your ass. And if we start doing things like that, it changes the culture. Institutions are not going to do anything. You go and say, INEC, NNPC, it's just not going to do anything. It doesn't mean nothing. So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I agree with what you said, because even going back to the example you used for China, when Mao Zedong founded the People's Republic of China, I was even opportune to read up on that stuff lately. Mm-hmm. He was very shrewd with his way he handled China, because during the revolution, when the whole they had the whole corruption, because China was very, very corrupt. Even with the British, the whole
1940s and the
90s was fantastically corrupt, and the policies that Mao Zedong implemented whilst transforming China into what it is today. That's why you see the guys' faces everywhere. It's not like Nigeria have different faces on the currency, but just that man's face. The only one. Like if you talk bad about the guys, they feel stony. You understand? And they knew that he was you know, they couldn't do that without a total overhaul. You understand? So yes, that's the whole premise of this conversation. Is if we want to revert back to that type of governance, or if we want to use that, talking about it carries its own. I mean, if you look at what this government is currently doing now, where they just go up, they go after people who speak bad about the government, depending on who your papa be or who your, you know, they, if you have, or depending on your social status and who they can intimidate, you know. So you because like I said, I'm trying to be pragmatic about it, but if it's a revolution that Nigeria needs, yes, Nigeria cannot change without a revolution. Down is 100%. We cannot do anything. And that revolution mindset, everyone has to come on aboard. But again, realistically speaking, do you think that people are going to come on board and agree? You know, like you said,
I think if we start to have the conversation, it can help. Because people
this conversation, Fela has been having this conversation.
No, but
I know one died. I know what my papa did for
yeah, but
house.
he was not talking about the solutions, and it comes back to what we had initially at the start of this conversation, where me, you, and Jab were talking about things. Well, it was very easy for Jab in his absence, so I'm not going to really focus on that aspect. But Jab was focusing quite a lot on the problem. Same thing that you pointed out, colonialism. It's like we can't keep talking about the causes. It's like these are the causes, colonialism. It's like, okay, there's loads of causes. That's fantastic. Fela was also talking about a lot of the causes, talking about the government, the junta sitting on his neck, etc. All of that stuff, all of Fela's stuff. I don't recall. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't recall him talking about solutions. That's the issue. We don't talk about solutions.
It's very easy. This solution is not complicated.
No, but hold on. Most of the debates and most of the conversations that we've had, whenever we not me and you, but that we have with other people and we're having all those things, look at them, go back and reflect on it and think about that. Most of them oftentimes are focusing on causes. What is the cause? This is the thing. This is caused by this. And there's this thing about tribalism and this thing about this. They say, okay, that's fantastic. I genuinely don't give a shit about any of that stuff. What are we doing about it? And people never talk about that part. They talk about very surface things like, let's elect this new person, or what we can do is we can go on campaign to be able to do this. It's just surface, and even things like
let me say something here. You know, I need to say something here now. You know, the first step to solving a problem is identifying you have a problem, right? Nigeria has gone to the stage that everyone is out here now talking, and I say to people, if you speak about something often enough, that thing eventually it kicks in. It starts to make sense. People start questioning, okay, why is this like this? Why is this like? So I think right now, if you look at it, the past 5-10 years, people are not vocal about the issues plaguing Nigeria as it is now, because Nigeria has gone from frying pan to, what am I even saying? We have been in fire all along. Like they just pour more fuel to the fire. We are not from frying pan to fire. We've been in fire all along. We've done the roasts. It's like they just fan the flame. Tinubu just came to fan the flame now, and he's burning the people. That's why again,
allegedly.
No, this one is not allegedly. I'm not allegedly anything. It's what is happening.
You're with that one. I don't know what Tinubu has done. He hasn't done.
We are talking more about that problem now. We are beginning to be vocal, you know. And again, I'll say many kudos to the diasporans, because you cannot deny the fact that because of the state that Nigerians have been kept, for example, lack of good internet and access to good internet, because you know that with internet you get access to information. Like I say to you, bro, when I learned about Nigeria, how Nigeria was created, how it was formed, Royal Niger Company, it wasn't Nigeria I learned it. I wasn't taught that in Nigeria. You have to understand that the education system that was implemented for Nigerians, they tell us in Lord Lugard discovered River Niger. Now
Like
flourish,
people not
flourish.
living there already.
You understand? Like people are not living there. So again, so
He just imported you. He found you and then just imported you.
you understand? So if you think about it, the average Nigerian, because what I'm trying to say, I'm also trying to go easy on the Nigerians there, because our parents don't know better. I'm being honest. Our parents don't know better because they are also the reason why we're in this situation. I mean, if you think about it, at the age of 35 or 27, that's when we're having heads of states who are leading Nigeria. How old were these guys at that time when they were? But now you see, youth leader is pushing 65 years. And
Exactly.
youth leader. They see youth leader with youth leader. So
I know, even though something happened like 5 years ago that I saw that there was a youth leader that was like 50 and was being, it's like, how is, and then it's like, how's that youth? It's like, what are you talking?
So again, in the defense of Nigerians have been kept in the dark for so long that they don't even know what is. They accept anything, because if you think about it, Nigerians accept anything, the bare minimum. If they tell you that you're the fourth largest oil producing country in the world and you're paying ridiculous amount of oil for petrol, or they're telling you that Nigeria is not even supposed to be having this whole conversation, a remove fuel subsidy, and we have the resources, not just oil. If you look at the agriculture sector, we've looked at mineral resources, gold, and the rest of them. I don't want to start calling names, but the people, they've been kept in the dark. So if Nigeria, for example, Nigeria had access to internet and everyone could afford internet, people will be able to research and actually know that this country called Nigeria is a business model that is acting out the way it was intended for it to be. It was designed for it to be. Because if you think about it, Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, personally, I don't think we can ever be one. I've said this before. It has never happened. There's never been a history in Nigeria, a time in Nigeria history where Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba were one. The only people that were one are those political elites that are
transcended
tribes.
And lost you again.
Milking the political benefit from it, but still here, I'm not sure what's going on.
You're back.
The political class, the political class that are benefiting from our misery. So at the end of the day, I don't think that in defense of coming to defense of Nigerians don't even have that. They are not aware. They don't have that knowledge. They don't know the history behind why. Because if they knew the history of how we got to where we are, if they can sit down and play every single Nigerian in Nigeria now, because remember that we're less than 1.5% in the diaspora. So the majority of Nigerians are still there in the dark. If they can see what transcended before while we're here, I believe nobody will want that country, Nigeria, to stand as well. So yes, the leaders, they know what they're doing, but man, at the end of the day, we have to start talking about it. First of all, people speak up about corruption, police brutality. You have people like Very Dark Man with his Rattel movement, even though that one I still have my reservations for that. Like I said, corruption in Nigeria, the devil go look and go say, nah, this one. You have all that. So they do for here. So, but again, the more people throw light on it, the more intense the campaign gets, and it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be all these things that are happening now. There's a guy called Mazen Nandekano. He said this thing years. He said that Tinubu is trying to make it allegedly APC is trying to consolidate Nigeria into a one-party system. This man said this thing 5 years ago. Where is he now? They threw him inside prison for treason. Meanwhile, Nigeria is negotiating with bandits. Nigeria is reforming bandits and putting them back into the society. Bro, it's I don't know. The revolution is going to be will not be televised, but at the same time,
it will be. This is 2026. At this point, everything is televised.
It will be televised. Actually,
it will be televised.
The revolution will be televised, but we need more. we just need to be speaking out about it more, because yes, if you ask me,
Yes.
I'm of the same opinion with yourself that we need a revolution but before the revolution,
There's no
are we
before.
just
We
going
need
to
to
be
do it.
applying band-aid to the
We
injury?
just need to focus on it, because
You know?
to me it's kind of like, and we'll jump into last thoughts after this. It's kind of like if you have an illness, you're not going to start chipping away slowly. You have something.
That's
There's
why I
something
say putting band-aid on top of the
yeah,
injury, or just,
there's no point. You look and say, look, there's something that's eating my meat, and I have this thing that's, my skin is peeling off. You're not just going to say, oh, well, I'll just wash it and then see what happens. Oh, that's not well, let me just put some plaster. No, you're going to say, doctor, tell me what's going on. What's the root cause? To your point, the RCA. You do a full-on RCA, root cause analysis, for anyone who's watching that doesn't know that, and then you identify what that causes, and then you extract it at the root. You don't just look at the surface applications. And the reality is that the core aspect of what we have is that our constitution permits, allows, and encourages people to be highly corrupt and to do the things that they do. Therefore, and also that goes back even to the, like your point, how we were originally set up. Nigeria was designed as a mine. People don't talk about this. I'm sure we're going to talk about this in a future episode. Nigeria is a mine. It was created as a country.
resource man.
A resource mine with the geographical area was determined by resource ability, capability, etc., versus what the country stood for. America came together, all of them came together because they all stood for something. We didn't have that option in Nigeria. We're designed for resources, and that's what we're doing. We're providing resources for the rest of the West. And that again, we need to address those aspects and then sort them out. Let's jump into last thoughts. Any last thoughts that you've got on this conversation that we've had? I think it's been a very, very nice, interesting, healthy conversation so far.
Yeah. Well, my last thoughts, I would say first of all, you see, Nigeria and Nigerians are very resilient people. Resilient. I've mixed my word. They have strong resilience. Nigerians are resilient in nature. They can adapt. I think someone mentioned, I don't know where I see something, was it on this podcast or someone? Nigerians have that capability to adapt. They can acclimatize to any situation. Anything at all. That's why, I think you said it, even when we come abroad, we tend to adapt. But again, that adaptation comes with age, because the older you are, the less teachable you are, and the more difficult it is for you to learn new habits. So I think that's another issue or problem that is plaguing Nigerians with these older generations. We have to start on we need to understand that as a 25 or 30-year-old person, your brain has developed to a capacity, or is at full capacity, has developed. Your prefrontal cortex and every part of your brain has developed to a capacity that you're capable of thinking for yourself and making decisions for yourselves. Because I believe that these old cargoes are the problem. Forget our age mates that are there fooling themselves and trying to, they're thinking that politics is this whole, because now the funny thing is, everybody, all our age mates now, most of them think that they can only get rich by politics, and because the system is designed like that now, I know about 20 people that are currently running for one political seat or the other. Not that they want to change anything, because I don't believe that if you want.
Oh, if we still got you there, Obi. Nope. Might have lost you. Give it a couple more seconds, see if that buffers. While it's buffering, I think the final question that we're trying to... Oh, there we go, you're back.
Sorry, I got caught off there. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right.
Maybe the internet is trying to save me from myself. So, and I said, I think the internet, it cut off at the time that I might be saying something that might be implicating me or people. So maybe it's God that's working with this internet, because I was about to go in on these old guys right now. But we have to cut that. We have to stop that mentality of, because someone is older than you, they know better than you, or not that they know better. Maybe they have a more experience than you, but at the same time, they also need to look into to understand that they might have also gotten it wrong. Because if you look at it, our parents and our parents before our parents, they were the reasons why we're here, because their action is what pushes, creates the future. What we do now determine how the tomorrow is going to be. So we need to understand, we the youth, because I don't believe an old man is like when this guy Buhari came, he said he wants to lead Nigeria into his future. I said to them in 2015, how the hell is a 70-something-year-old man going to lead me, a 30-something-year-old person, into my future? Like, this doesn't make sense to you people. Does it make sense to you? I was always against Buhari. Even Yar'Adua.
I was for him. I'll be honest. I was for him.
You told me you can. I know the story. So because of his track record, he had a track record. So I don't fault you for that. But me, I looked at it. I said, in this present economic and political space that we have, that there is no way this man is going to lead.
It's because it's a different constitution.
I remember this guy was the same guy that wanted to Islamize Nigeria. But that's a story for another day. So
that's a different conversation.
But so just to my last thoughts are I don't know if I'll say my last thought, but I want to start urging young Nigerians, maybe don't think for yourself, because let's forget this habit of I want to chop now. What am I going to get from this now? What is my benefit from now? Let's start thinking about the future, about our unborn children, because that's how these Western people think. The policies that they made 100 years ago is what shaped their future to be the way it is now. But our Nigerian average man, that's why I still say that thing. I say that when they say the heart of man is wicked and greedy, it's the Nigerian man that Bible verse was referring to. Let us try and stop, see beyond let's stop being myopic. Let's start seeing the future. Let's see beyond our noses. Let's start thinking of, okay, if I don't get this respect I'm going to get now, my children's children are going to be respected. Let's start thinking about generational respect, not generational wealth through looting and embezzlement, because that's what Nigerians do. And also to the young ones who are there, our age mates who are aligning with these old cargoes, I don't know, honestly, I don't know, because I can't even talk to them without insulting or say something. I mean, you know me, because
I know you too well.
It's not something that I expect from this, but let us think about, because what majority of these guys don't understand is the image Nigeria has abroad. You know that Nigeria had that had a good standing 10 years ago. You know how you look at Nigeria, Nigeria, this, every girl wants to be with Nigeria. It was Nigerians in diaspora that actually portrayed that image for Nigeria to have, not the ones back home. But now that the ones back home are traveling abroad, and also there's internet and development, technology is going, and people are actually beginning to see Nigeria for what it is, that it's a shithole, you see. So let's think about our image abroad. I'm not saying that like say, let's be saying Nigeria is great when Nigeria is not great. No, let's say that, okay, light's not there Nigeria. These people, they will use and laugh also. Moku fix Nigeria, make light in Nigeria. Nigeria's matter is very, very simple, but we make it complicated. It's very easy to know this is good and this is bad. Let's do the good thing. I'm a fan of trying to make things very simple.
Yeah.
If you thief, firing squad. If you caught stealing, face the firing squad. If you caught raping or molesting someone, you should first of all have your private parts.
Yep.
No. Firing squad is too.
That was different.
They should first of all, maybe they can implement Sharia law for that one. Cut your dick off, you catch you. Not for cheating, I'm talking about maybe raping or something like that. That will hinder people. Then if you have leaders, in that want to swear, take an oath of office, let us go and bring Ogu, Ifa, Amadioha. Let them swear with Amadioha that if they enter there and they embezzle money, that was J.K. Rawlings that said it, in Ghana. That's what he implemented at the time he did the coup in Ghana. He said that he doesn't swear with the Bible and Quran, that who brought the Bible. Let us go and bring our African deity. Let's swear so that if you enter there and you embezzle money, thunder will strike. Brother, you see that Nigeria will change.
I agree.
You understand?
No,
so let's not make it complicated. this whole Western, when I like when I'm not saying it behind jabs, you're talking about you mentioned America, you say I hate it. Do you know how it grinds my gear when people are talking about Nigerian policies and you bring America in the same sentence as Nigeria? That's just, I don't know what to call it. Like, why Americans are they suffering from? Well, they have their gun laws, they have the things that they face, but honestly, it's better in America than in Nigeria because we are struggling to go there. They are the ones banning us. We are not the ones banning them. So you understand. So let us stop comparing ourselves to other countries who democracy was meant for. Democracy was never meant for us. Let's do the things our own way. Let's worship our African gods. Like the gods that we are worshiping before the answers. Maybe we can pick from them a few things like development, technology, but let's not lose our ways the way we are ruled, how we've been governed in the past. So yeah, those are my last thoughts, man. It's
No, that makes sense, man. That's a that's a very thoughtful set of things, and I think that even bolsters some additional conversations because some of these conversations we've had before, and I think it'll be very interesting to hear you on jabs in particular, go through some aspects of this conversation that you just raised now, especially with regard to international engagement. I think that could make for some very interesting, insightful back and forth. For me, my last thoughts are quite simple. They're very, very straightforward to what I've said essentially throughout this entire thing. I think there's a revolution that's required. I think we need to start pushing the message to get people ready for that revolution. And it might take a whole generation, maybe two, maybe three. Maybe I'll be dead by the time that happens. I don't care. But I think that revolution needs to be pushed out there to say two things. One is that Nigeria is not created because of Nigerians. It's a system that was created as a resource extraction point for the Western world, which has continued to work. To your point as well, Obi, about how the West is set up things for the future generations. That's exactly what they've done. Nigeria was set up for the future generations. Over 100 years later, they're still getting the results of the decisions that they made then. Nigeria is a decision that some people sat down and said, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and our great-great-grandchildren are going to be able to bring or be able to enjoy the benefits of. I think that needs to be re-examined. Absolutely re-examined. I'm not an advocate of Nigeria just splitting up for the sake of base and west and no. We need to really think about what.
Oh yeah, even that splitting up.
No, but it's not just about splitting up for the sake of splitting up. Is that we need to have a conversation? Of
course, no.
Yes, it needs to be a conversation on. We need to, but we're not doing that. No, we're talking about ethnicities and Yoruba, not Yoruba, East, West. I don't like that either. We need to sit down and really think about it and say, what does it mean to be a country? Do we know what that is? And what are the countries that exist within that? Is it just by ethnicity? Is it just by that? If that's the case, there's aspects of Nigeria, Liberia, Ghana, etc. that will be all merged together. That doesn't work. That's one. Two is around whether or not a new president can fix anything. We've seen the examples of America already. Didn't work. In the UK, we've had 7 prime ministers in the past 10 years. How has that worked for us? Hasn't worked very well. It's been a bit shit if you really stop and you think about how things have really worked out. It's been rubbish. And then when you think about, we've got Trump in America, and Trump in America has done what he wanted to do. He's done things against his campaign promises, and he's not been able to move against the system, and he's behaved the exact same way as the Democrats, and the Democrats have behaved the exact same way as the Republicans. Changing the president doesn't change anything. It makes no difference. And then I think, and the final point I've got about that is that can Nigeria create those institutions, etc., that will last long term? I genuinely don't think so. I don't think we're in that position. I do not think we have the capabilities, the systems, the structures in place, because they're built on fundamentally flawed principles, and it's just not going to work. We need to change the constitution, change the systems that are in place, and change how we deal with those situations to suit us, not because somebody else came and told us that this is how our country should run. We should run the country the best way that we think they should run, using our own systems, not systems imposed on us by others, especially not by imperial colonialists. That's my final thought on that. I mean, we'll catch up on the back end on this. We'll move into the back end. But anyone who's watched, you guys, thank you for joining another episode. Thoroughly interesting, informative in my view, and I'm looking forward to the next one as always. Signing out from Misaligned. Peace.